In this video, I'll show you how to perform a lookup that returns multiple values in the same cell. I have a data set over here which consists of two columns, one column for names and a second column for projects associated with each name. And as you can see, we have lots of duplicate names in column A. And that's because each person could be associated with more than one project. For example, Bob is associated with Project Beta, Epsilon, Iota, and a number of other projects. And that goes with all of the other names in this list. Now, what I want to do here is I want to create a lookup formula which looks up and returns all the projects associated with a particular name. So this represents all the unique names in column A. You can do that using a very simple unique formula similar to this one. Now I want to write a formula that returns all of the projects which each of these people are associated with. And I wanted to do it in a comma delimited manner. And obviously it needs to be in the same cell. Now how to do that? Now, as you know, a simple VLOOKUP will only return the first value associated with each name. Before I show you the formula we need to use, I'm going to show you what a traditional VLOOKUP does. So if I write a traditional VLOOKUP formula and I write VLOOKUP and I look up this name within this range and I look into what the project name is, as so, the VLOOKUP formula will by default return only the first corresponding value for each unique name. So if I drag this down, now this has indeed returned a project name associated with each name. However, it's only returned the first value. For example, for Alice, it's returned alpha. For Bob, it's returned beta. But that's not what we want. We want a formula which will return all the projects associated with each name. Now, how to do that? So the solution for that is to use the TextJoin formula. And the syntax for that formula is currently displayed on the screen over here. So I'm going to first apply this formula and then I'll briefly explain how the formula works. So there we go. I applied it to one name and I'm going to go ahead and drag it down. There we go. So as you can see, this formula has correctly returned all the projects associated with each name. For example, Alice is part of Project Alpha, Gamma, Zeta, Nu, Sigma, and PSI. And all of those have been correctly returned. And that goes for the other names as well. And what this formula does is this formula goes down the list and checks the names in column E in this case. Every time it sees, for example, Alice, it takes a peek at the projects next to her name in column B. Now, if it finds Alice, it would grab the project names listed next to her name in column B. If it's not Alice, it just skips over and doesn't take anything. Once it's checked the whole list, the formula takes all projects that is found for Alice and puts them together in one spot, in this case, in cell F2. So instead of having to look through the full list, you get something like alpha, gamma, zeta, etc., all in one quick glance. Now, I'm going to explain in more detail how this TextJoin formula works, but note that this formula is only available in newer versions of Excel. That is, all the versions after Excel 2016, and also if you have Office 365. Now, here's what this formula does. This TextJoin formula consists of three main arguments. The first argument is the delimiter. This is what separates each value in the final string, and that's this portion over here. The second argument asks if we want to ignore empty cells. We want to ignore empty cells, so that argument is true. So we enter true for that argument, followed by a comma. And the final argument is an array. And for the array, we've used an if function. And this is the array of values or empty strings based on whether the cells in the A1 through A25 range match this corresponding name, in this case, Alice. And in a nutshell, that's how this formula works, using these basic three arguments. And as you can see, this is correctly returning all the corresponding values for each name, something that a traditional VLOOKUP cannot do. And that's how it's done. I hope you found this video useful and educational. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, if you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed already, make sure to subscribe and also turn on notifications so you won't miss out on my next videos. See you soon.